Good morning. Ooh, I think it's getting time for a haircut. Good morning. Happy Friday. So, Steve Linder, this was Steve Linder's story, or is Steve Linder's story. Steve is a really amazing guy. He runs an NLP center down in Florida, I believe, last I checked. But he would take out a garbage bag, and he would say, this is what some people do with their problems or their story, as we talked about. Remember one time I did one of these and I said, one of the things that you got to do in order to move on from your life is divorce yourself from your story. A lot of us, including me, have something happen and it becomes all that we're talking about. It becomes our story and we don't ever take it and get rid of it. So imagine that this is your story. This is your problem. So some people just carry it around like this. And they just walk around and periodically they take it out and they look at it and they show you and they explain it. And then a lot of times what they'll do is they'll fold it up. So it doesn't manage them all the time, but they'll fold it up and then they'll put it in their pocket. And they carry it around in their pocket. So it doesn't always manage them, and they don't talk about it all the time, but they've never gotten rid of it. It always stays right here in their pocket, and every now and then they reach their hand in their pocket, and then they take it back out, and then they open it up, and they tell you about it. And then they talk about it, and then they think about it, and then they fold it back up, and then they put it back in there. Now, other people, they take it out. And by the way, if you fold it up, I'm trying to do this one-handed. It doesn't look that bad, right? And imagine that I did this with two hands so that it was folded nicely. It doesn't look too bad. It's just this little thing that you carry around. But here's the problem. Then you take it out and you decide that you're really going to take a look at it. So now, all of a sudden you do this. And now the story becomes like this. And some people carry this around all the time. And then still others they do this. They fill it up and they make it big, and now here's their story. Now here's their problem. So they went from the little fold-up bag that they keep in their pocket, and they keep looking, and they went to this. And they carry it on their back, and they walk around with it all the time. And they make sure that you can see it, and they actually hope that you bring it up, because then you'll talk to them about it. And you'll ask them, what's that you're carrying around? Oh, and they'll be happy to tell you. Well, here it is. Look at it. This is my story. This is my problem. This is what happened to me. I got financially ruined. I got cheated on by my husband. I was sexually assaulted. I have a disease. I have a label. I'm manic depressive. Again, I'm not discounting any of those experiences. I have, this or I have that, whatever. I'm too young, I'm too old, whatever it is, they carry it around on their back in a big, big thing so that we all talk about it, so that we all look at it, so that we can all ask them about it. It almost becomes their identity. And for some people, it can become their identity. And when that happens, here's what they do with their problem. They do this. They decide that they're going to live inside their problem. And this is how it's going to be for the rest of their life. They're just going to live like this. They can't get out of it. They can't get away from it. It's the only thing that they talk about. It's the only thing that they think about. Need a hole to breathe. There. Worse than wearing a mask. Now, this is every Monday I'm going to start a diet. This is I'm going to quit smoking at my next birthday. This is I'm going to quit drinking, once I do this. I'm going to lose the weight once I do this. This is how that person walks around and lives. They live inside their problem. They talk about it constantly. They buy books, they buy tapes, they buy systems, they buy cleanses, they buy all kinds of stuff and say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But instead, they just do this. And then one day they decide, I'm really going to change. And so here's what they do. And that's their change. And I can't do this with two hands. What they need to do, I'm going to set the phone down, is this. They need to break through the whole thing, rip the problem apart, and then truly throw it away. By learning the lesson, though, that problem was meant to teach you. Problems aren't meant to punish us. They're meant to drive us. And they're meant to teach us a lesson. And I remember the first time I saw Steve do that presentation, and I thought it was brilliant because that was something that certainly I've done in the past. I told you about my financial struggles, and when that building happened, there was a Tony Robbins event 2 weeks after that I was supposed to crew, and I thought, man, I just don't have time. But I'd promised that I would be there, and I knew that they were going to be understaffed, and the first day, because Oprah had just happened, so they were going to have a ton of people. And when I got there, I was going around and I was telling my story. I was showing pictures of the building, look. And I told you, my good friend Ralph Zuckerman from down in Florida watched the whole thing and looked at me and he said, okay, this sucks, but get over it. You know all the ways in order to fix this. Stop whining about it and go fix it. And by the way, there's a lot of people that have had a lot worse events happen in their life than that. So stop freaking whining about it and just go change it. Go do something. Stop talking about it and go do something to fix it. Successful people spend 5% of their time on the problem and 95% of their time on the solution. Ralph did me an incredibly great favor that day because I stopped when he said that. My eyes searched every quadrant of my brain, and they said, yeah, you do have all the skills to go fix this, so go fix it. Now, fixing it took me 1.5 years, almost 2 years, but I stopped focusing on the problem. I never went up and looked at that building ever again. I never went up and tried to figure out what happened. I never went up and I focused on how to get out of this situation as a result of that conversation. And I still, though, told the story for a while. And so that's when I decided, instead of telling this story and making it a negative thing, I need to tell the story and make it a positive thing. So that's when it became my personal growth opportunity, shortly after that. So when people would ask, I would tell the story, but I would say this was my personal growth opportunity. And over time, that changed my relationship to that event. Even before I'd gotten myself out of it, I didn't feel the same way about the event at all because I had changed my language and I had changed my physiology. Remember, I had to go through the park a different way because I was so anchored to go one way. So I had changed all of that. And I knew, I just knew that I was going to look back and say, this is one of the best things that ever happened to me, even though I was still in it. And I mean, I was way in it. But here's the other thing that happened. When I started changing my attitude, people started trying to help me. People that I didn't even ask to help me were trying to help me. Over and over again, somebody would do something. I mean, the generosity during that time was something. I think a lot of that was because of the way that I was approaching it, that I was not going around, I wasn't burdening people with my problem. They would ask me, and I would tell them, okay, here's what happened. But, my approach was, this is my personal growth opportunity, and I'm going to figure this out. And that's what it was in my head. So I guarantee that I told that story differently. And then people helped. So we all have events that have happened in our life that are very difficult. And I see that every day. I see people who've lost loved ones, who've had to bury children. And there's no burying a child, no, that's going to be okay. I mean, that's not how it works. But there's certainly a way to change your relationship to that event so that it becomes something not so devastating. And, great things have come out of very difficult times. Mothers Against Drunk Driving happened because a stay-at-home mom lost her child to a drunk driver. The Amber Alert was the same thing. Those people started out because of some horrible event and created something that's had a very positive impact on the world. So, whatever the problem is, whatever your story, don't fold it up neatly and keep it in your pocket. That's what achievers do, by the way, is they hang on to the story, but they don't live in it. They fold it up neatly and they keep it in their pocket. Then periodically, people get overwhelmed by their story and they carry it on their back or they live it. If I'm going to start the diet every Monday. If you're, I got to change this, but I'm still going to do it all the time, then you're living in that story. You've got that bag over your head. So don't take it off and fold it up and put it in your pocket. Break it open and break free. Learn the lessons from that situation, whatever it's there to teach you. Problems are there to drive us. What's it there to drive you? Why is it there? Learn that lesson and then say thank you and cast it aside. Remember I said maybe hold it in your hand and have it be a figure and let it tell you what you need to learn and then say thank you. And you get to go away and cast it aside and move on with your life. It's too short. Life's just too short to hang on to this stuff. And I've done it. We all do it. And we're going to do it again. So notice when it happens and go back to this metaphor. How is it that you're dealing with your problem? Are you holding it on your back full of air? Are you living inside it? Are you holding it up? Are you folding it up and keeping it in your pocket? Or are you going to learn that lesson and break it open and break it away so that it doesn't bind you anymore and you're free? That's true freedom. And that's true security, by the way. When you're not living in fear, that's security and that's freedom. And the only way to not live in fear is to make a decision that you're going to control your responses to whatever has happened. Because as we've said a million times, and we're going to say it again, we cannot control events. We can only control our relationship to those events. And when you master that, now you've got true security. Now you've got true freedom in your life. I hope that made some sense to you. Thank you, Steve, for that story. He's an incredible guy. If you want to learn NLP, go down to his facility down in Florida. I didn't look it up before I did this. I assume he's still down there doing it because he's one of the best. Have a great Friday, everybody. I hope you have a great one. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.